You're welcome to today's class. We are still on register, but we'll be ending it today. So, we will take the passage. Thereafter, we'll take the passage and be answering our questions. Now, on to the passage. This passage, this time, remember the previous 2 days. The first one we took from the field of medicine, which is science, and then we took another one from the social science, and then this time we are taking from the world of art. And true to type, we are taking from language itself. To be specified, we are taking from the English language, and so we are taking a passage that is concerned with the art. Alright, so one of the most difficult and confusing aspects of the English language is its spelling system. There is often dash between the pronunciation of a word and its spelling. Now, what should be our answer? Should it be often a discrepancy? Yes, that is our answer. Usually in English language, we say there's a discrepancy between the spelling system or orthography and the pronunciation. So our answer is a discrepancy. Why can't we take discord? Discord? No, usually we don't use that term. That is discord. That sounds too literal. Now, of course, it is not the issue of similarity. If you look at the passage as we move on, we are not talking of similarity. Okay? And we are even using the word confusing aspect from the beginning that we took, confusing aspect. So based on that, it can be a similarity. Of course, that also means that it cannot be concord, which is also has to do with similarity or agreement. Alright, so we have agreed that our answer is a discrepancy for question number 1. There is often a discrepancy between the pronunciation of a word and its spelling. Okay, so we're moving down. One cannot always tell how to spell a word. Should we say spell a word throughout its pronunciation? That is awkward. Won't work. Spell a word by its pronunciation. We can pick that in the light of the options we have. Or spell a word as to its pronunciation. No, that is outrightly wrong. Then we'll look at D. Spell a word as from its pronunciation. This is wrong. However, if we take out as, if we delete as, then option D may even be better than option B. But because of the as here, option B becomes a better option between the two. So our answer for question 2 is option B. One cannot always tell how to spell a word by its pronunciation. Now we're moving on with the passage. We will take in another paragraph. In order to understand the peculiarity of the English spelling dash, should we say of the English spelling difficulty? No, we're not talking of the English spelling. Of course, this issue is about difficulty, but we are not looking at the way the sentence goes is not on difficulty in this paragraph. In order to understand the peculiarity of the English dash spelling, we won't be saying difficulty at this stage now. Okay? This sentence is looking at the overall nature of the spelling. So difficulty won't work. Or in that same vein, confusion won't work. Now system is our answer. Now if you go back to the passage, you discover that even at the beginning, the word spelling system, the expression spelling system is used. So we have English language is one of the most difficult and confusing aspects of the English language is its spelling system. So here we are talking of the peculiarity of English spelling system. Of course, not code, which is a little bit close, because we are not looking at coding, which will bring about a system. Alright, so it is good to know something about the history of the language. Now we'll continue, we'll take note of the last part. We have answer of question 3, which is C, but take note of the last part because it's from here we'll move on to question number 4. Now let's take it from the last point. It is good to know something about the history of the English language. Now, first, it is helpful to realize that English was originally spoken by people who could neither read nor write. Now, we take while the Dutch spoke English, the literate upper class spoke French and wrote in Latin. Now, let's go back to where we have the question. Having read that, why the Dutch spoke English, the literate. Now, you must take note that there's a contrast here. This dash here contrasts literate. Why the dash? Then the literate class. So the dash here contrasts literate. Now, should it therefore be middle class? A, option A. While the middle class spoke English, the literate upper class spoke French? Or should we say the educated? Literate also is a very close term to educated. In fact, they can be synonyms, although there's slight difference between them. So that won't work because we're talking of contrast. Now, we remove option A. Let's go back there. Middle class is somewhat also, is closer to the upper class. So remember that we said the upper class spoke French. So middle class, that would take it as being upper class, or definitely it's on its own. So it can contrast very well with upper class or the upper classes. And remember, they even say upper classes. These upper classes may therefore mean both the upper class and the middle class. Alright, so we'll take out A and we'll take out B. Now we'll look at less enlightened. Now, should we take that to contrast with the literate? Now, remember, the word enlightened doesn't really necessarily mean it has to do with education. One can be educated and still not be enlightened. So enlightenment actually has to do with being informed. You can have somebody educated but still not informed, particularly maybe in some areas. So we have without option C. So we look at option D, uneducated. Yes, this can contrast well with literate. A person who is uneducated technically is not literate. That is the point. So our answer here is uneducated. So we take it that while the uneducated spoke English, the literate upper classes spoke French and wrote in Latin. Now let's move on to question 5. Later, when English became a Dutch language. Now, should we say later when English became a literary language? We're not concerned with the language being literary here. We're only talking about the fact that the English originally was a spoken language because of the type of people who were using it. So it is not the issue of literary, neither is it the issue of being romantic as well. Now we come to see written language, because remember that it was spoken language. Now later it became, of course, the opposite, written language as well. Alright, so we won't take coded language because of the same reason we used for question number 3. It is not the issue of coding now. We are talking of whether it is spoken or written, but not the issue of whether it is coded or not coded. Alright, so our answer to question number 5 is written.